family brings a lot of different definitions from different researchers. Therefore, the Berman and Harjan 1979 defined the family as a universal institution that served to socialize and raise children. Meanwhile, Jack 2015 defined it as a social group whose members are entirely related through marriage or lineage. From the various definitions, most of the researchers come to a decision that a family is a collection of people who are linked or connected through bloodline, marriage rite, adoption, share a home, united in their feelings of oneness, and regard themselves as a group because they share values and obligations. There are a few types of family, and the most common is a nuclear family, which means a couple and any independent unmarried children who live together and function as a social unit. And also, extended family, which means a social unit made up of 3 or more generations that are related through marriage or blood links live together. Other types of families are blended families and compound families. If we talk about family, there is always connected with the word kinship. Kinship is a relationship that is culturally defined between people who are typically regarded to have family ties and also describes and builds a network of enduring links between individuals and groups based on biological relationships between parents and children, siblings and spouses. It can also be culturally constructed where through consanguineal relative, affinal relative, fictive kinship and adoption. The definitions of the two words reveal the fundamental difference between family and kinship. A family is a group of people that includes both parents and children. Meanwhile, kinship, on the other hand, is defined as a blood link. For our group, we will be focusing on 2 groups, which are Bugis and Bajau. Therefore, my other group members will be explaining in detail about the family and kinship of Bajau and Bugis.
Based on one of our focus any group, the Bajau are consisting of 2 different kinship systems. According to Nemo, the kinship system that are involved in the way the Bajau organize themselves are Hawaiian and Eskimo kinship system. There are slight similarity and difference in these 2 kinship systems. The similarity is both kinship systems have different terminology for their kin, which consider gender and generation. However, it is different in each kinship system's context. Thus, according to Buckler, Hawaiian kinship system is the only kinship system that shares the same title for siblings with cousins but still differs according to gender. As we can see, the difference between Hawaiian and Eskimo kinship system is that Eskimo kinship does have different terms for an individual or anthropologically stated as ego. In this system, ego's parents and parent siblings are called with different title, and this situation also applies to ego's siblings and cousins. For example, through English word, ego will call his or her biological parents as mother and father according to their gender, and ego's mother siblings as aunt, and ego's father siblings as uncle. Remember that all these terms is depending on ego's language used for communication among his or her community. Meanwhile, for siblings and cousins, ego recognizes their siblings as the brother or sister with same biological parents as ego, and categorize all cousins which are born from ego's aunties and uncles, which are also ego's parents' siblings. On the other hand, Hawaiian kinship have the same title for ego's parents' title and parents' siblings' title, which only differs by gender. Ego's mothers and mother's siblings will have the same title, which is mother. And this applies to ego's father as well, which the father and father's siblings title is called father. At the same time, ego also recognizes their siblings and cousins as one and differs by gender, with title brother for ego's male siblings along with male cousins, and sister for female siblings and cousins. And these are kinship terminology for the Bajau. First off is the terminology for female among kin and kindreds, which include ego's biological mother as Unggo, Babu for aunties with and without the blood relation, and Arum for the first and last daughter born in the family. Next is terms for ego's male kin and kindreds, which Umah is the ego's father, title Bapa is for uncles with and without blood relation, and Oto is for first and last son born in the family. Followed by terms for ego's children, which are anak, kemanakan, or Oto. The terms for ego's niece and nephew are called as Arum. Nicknames are also allowed to be used between siblings, niece, and nephew. Terms for ego's cousins include kaki or kampun. Lastly, the terms for kinship through affin. Matua is Igo's partner's parents. Meanwhile, Ipal is the terms for Igo's blood relative's partner in the same generation. And Bilas is the term for Igo's partner in the same generation by blood's relative's partner. Up next, we will see the approaches kinship for the Bugis.
Bugis Kinship. First, the kinship system. According to Peras 1996, the Bugis practice cognatic kinship system or bilateral descent. An individual's kindred of this community belong equally to the paternal and maternal side families. To some extent, the cognatic kinship system can trace kinship through both fathers and mothers' ancestors. The Bugis regard closest and even distant relatives as family members, not like unilateral kinship that considered one-side relatives only as their family. Title in the Bugis family. According to Peras 1996, in Bugis language, father is being called as Ama, mother as Ina, and child are Ana. All of the relatives who are from the same generation, either female or male, sisters, brothers, or cousins, is being called as siajing, which carries the meaning of siblings. The eldest sibling, either male or female, on the other hand, is being called as kakak, and the young one is Andri. Family members, like close nieces and nephews or cousins' children, can be called as Ana Ure or Ana only. The child of Ana or Ana Ure will be called as Epo, which means grandchildren. All of the relatives that are the same generation as Bugis parents will be called as Ina Ure, which means aunties, and Ama Ure, which means uncles. The parents of them is being called as Nene, which carries the meaning of grandmother or grandfather. The first cousins are being called as Sapo Siseng, second cousin is Sapo Wekadwa, the third one is Wekatelu, and the fourth one is Weka Epa in Bugis language. Conclusion. In conclusion, it is not surprising if the Bugis people know at least 6 names of their great-grandparents, as cognatic kinship makes the Bugis to recognize their layer of collateral kin. Therefore, a solid knowledge about their kinship concepts is required to comprehend aspects like their marital traditions, power, and social status for the Bugis.
Next, Bajau family. According to Setter, the Bajau way of life was greatly affected by these macro-level changes. Until 1955, the Sempurna society was exclusively made up of boat-dwelling hunter-gatherers, with each boat, or known as lepa, housing a single nuclear family plus the occasional dependents, and each boat being associated with a band or local moorage group of 2 to 40 lepa. These same Bajau nowadays are completely sedentary, which has had significant consequences for tribal identity. Second, according to Bom et al., life in Bajau village may bring numerous problems and contrast to anticipated living patterns to an urbanized Western strangers. Houses are shared by extended family groupings at all hours of the day. Therefore, there is no completely private place for an individual. A Bajau hamlet may appear anarchic to a Western visitor at first sight, with little evident regularity or purpose. This will be inaccurate because Bajau groups have their own set of internal social structures and relationships. Individuals are tied at the home level via the custom of auxiliary locality, in which married males reside with female family members. Auxiliary locality allows related females to be together with their husbands, and the other male children are out on extended fishing trips. Third, according to Unsworth et al., another distinguishing feature of the Bajau ethnic group is the nature of their settlements. Prior to the 20th century, Bajau family groupings lived nearly entirely at the sea in family marinas, interacting with coastal villages and avoiding the direct effects of European colonization through their migratory habits. However, technological advancements, particularly the offshore engine, as well as the declarations of national identity throughout Southeast Asia, as well as the consequences for individual mobility, and the rise of Islam as a unifying factor, all conspired to drastically alter the Bajau style of living. Lastly, marriage and family of Bajau. In Bajau culture, in terms of marriage, kinship is preferred as a marriage partner. However, children of brothers and those breastfed by the same mother or nursemaid are exceptions. Elopement or abduction are both common ways for parents to arrange marriage. Although arranged marriage are ideal, elopement is common. The man's family usually initiates marriage negotiation, frequently with the assistance of a middleman. When a proposal is accepted, the bride's father appoints one of his relatives to be the guardian, or known as wakil or wali in Malay, of his daughter.
Today I will present about the Bugis families. The Bugis are a Southeast Asian people with a population over 3 million who called the Southwest Peninsula Celeb Island Sulawesi. The Bugis are a sizable Austronesian people who live in the southwest region of the island of Sulawesi. First and foremost, the Bugis are aware of the existence of a nuclear family that known as Sianang. Sianang is a family that consists of a father, mother, and their children. And then, the Bugis society highly values extended family. In addition to the nuclear family and extended family, the Bugis identify a set of relatives known as blood relative of the father's and the mother's side. Next, marriage between cousins, especially second-degree relatives that the Bugis called Sapok Kadua, are the perfect match for the Bugis. The goal of marriage between cousins is to rekindle ties that have begun to drift apart. Besides, it is best to marry within established kinship network. For the Bugis, married to someone from outside their circle has the potential to turn a non-kin into their families. However, to limit the inclination to marry with other nations, elders allow them to marry an outsider as long as he or she is Bugis. Other than that, the Bugis community not only preserve their cultural heritage and custom, but also practice taboos or referred as pemali. Pemali in Bugis society are used to restrain an individual from doing or saying something that is inappropriate and considered taboos. Then, pemali also acts as a non-formal education to form characters and give a harmonious and peaceful social order in Bugis society. Last but not least, pemali shows the wisdom of past ancestors who can interpret life wisely. That's all from me. Thank you.
In conclusion, the term family is always related to kinship either through the bloodline or marriage. As for the Bajau community, they are mostly live nearly to the sea and they are living as a nuclear family, while there are also some of them living in extended family groupings, making it difficult for them to have their own privacy. The Bugis also acknowledge the existence of both the nuclear and extended family. They believe that marrying someone from outside their family circle will help them to enlarge their kin. For the type of kinship, it is clear that the Bajau is practicing the Eskimo kinship, which means there is no differentiation between patrilineal and matrilineal relative, and also Hawaiian kinship, where the same kin term is given to all relatives within a generation. Meanwhile, Bugis practice bilateral and cognatic kinship. This is due to the fact that members of this group are equally represented by their paternal and maternal side families. That's all from us.